Hey guys, well, we had a whole week of voting here on a Gridiron Football. I guess we usually say Player of the Week show, but it's really the Player of the Year show, part two. As we had the first part, we had 40 nominees, 40 deserving nominees for Gridiron Football Player of the Year, and I feel like we're at one. I feel like we're at one of those reality, I guess, TV shows. Alex, you gotta make the cut.
Yeah.
Like okay, we're down to our top final 10.
It's it's episode 2 of American Idol where you go from 24 starting and you cut down to 12 at the
Right,
top. That's
right.
what we're doing.
Pretty much thinning the herd, I guess that's what you can say. But obviously joined by Alex Allison, and Alex is going to be on board with us this year for Gridiron Football. We're super excited about that. I know he did a great job with us over in the fall, and looking forward to him for a whole season and gets to feel the whole Chase Lejeune cycle for a whole year and see how and maybe he doesn't lose his sanity like me, but Alex, I know you'll be recording it separately. I know you're with your family in Houston, so hope you enjoy your time with your family and everything. But we're going to get the show on the road. I know we had a lot of votes, we had a lot of donations, and we want to appreciate everybody that has donated, has voted for Player of the Year. This year, we had majority Louisiana. Unlike last year, we had a player from Texas win All Player of the Year, but we have a lot of nominees from 4 different states, but I think we're going to. I think the booth's going to be pretty excited once we go over the final 12. So
Yeah. This is an exciting week because we had our 40. All of them were super deserving. But now it's not just the players that were deserving of being on this list in the first place, but now we know that these 12 guys have the fan support behind them.
yeah,
Are ones that the fans want to see win this award. And we're going to have some really interesting and unique names here. And we'll be talking about this when we go through it. There are going to be some names everyone knows, but we're also going to have some players that haven't been talked about as much. And that'll make for a very interesting list and a very interesting race throughout this week, I think.
and you probably caught that right because if you go to and vote, you're probably thinking, Jace, I thought it was the top 10 and not the top 12. Well,
Yeah.
the reason why we have 12 is it turns out when you go and listen to this, and we're about to break down the top 12 names and everybody, the reason why it's 12 is because really the margin of error was really slim between 10 through 12. And everybody that's made the top 12 had at least 1,000 votes. So we thought it was fair to add 2 more to the tally. And there's really a big gap between 12 and 13. So
Yeah.
might as well add in 2 more. So instead of the final 10, we're taking the final 12.
I mean, there's no. This isn't a player of the week style show. If we don't start by going, okay, we're gonna have 10 players, and then finish with some number higher than 10, it feels very on brand for us.
Oh yeah. Uh, as on brand as it is for Gridiron Football, we just kind of go with the flow, basically here at Gridiron Football, and that's what we're doing. And before we start, before we start, and before me and Alex go back and forth and say who made the cut for the final Player of the Year. Once again, I appreciate everybody that's voted and donated. But I know really the votes matters a lot to get into the top 12. I mean, if you vote a whole lot, that gets you to that next stage, right? But we are awarding the players that receive donations. So whatever donation votes you received, if you made the top 12, those will actually carry over to the next week. So you won't start at zero. If you get like let's say 4,000 votes into donations, you're going to start off with 4,000 votes next week. So whoever has the lead, not necessarily overall votes, will have the lead next week, but donation votes. That's why we keep on, talking about how important it is to donate because this is an award show. I mean, that's why these 40 players, they're deserving of being Gridiron Football Player of the Year finalists. But that's why we leave it up to the fans not only to vote, but this is also basically a charity, really, for Gridiron Football. So this
Mhm.
fundraiser for Gridiron football as well at the same time as the Player of the Year finalist.
Yeah, so we're kind of killing two birds with one stone in that way. And before we get into this, I just want to quickly say we're not going to be going in depth about these players.
No,
This is not the show for that. If you wanted the show for that, that was last week.
that was last.
Where we went over not just the 12 here, but all 40 of the finalists or semifinalists, if you want to put it that way. But the guys that made all of them that we considered, all of them that were on that vote, we talk a couple minutes about every single player there. It was a long video, but if you want to see it there or on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, you can find all of those clips if you want to see the player in depth. Here, we're just going to be doing name, votes, maybe position, school, that kind of stuff. Hey, they're awesome reactions. This will be quicker. Just want to quickly throw that out there before we go into it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll probably leave a link as well to the YouTube link for that show, so people can go back and watch the first show, and they want to hear all 40 finalists. But Alex, let's go right into it because I know the people have been waiting for it. Number 5 minutes in the show, and I know they've been waiting on it. So let's go into it. Actually, instead of going from bottom to top, we're going from top to bottom. And actually, interestingly enough, the guy who received the most overall votes and definitely kept himself really safe this whole entire process is Kobe Vital from Abbeville. Remember the quarterback that won our Gridiron football regular season finale player of the week. And like we said, if you win player of the week, you know, Mac gets selected for player of the year. Kobe had that one great performance to get him in the player of the year running. And right now his Abbeville is really showing a lot of support for Kobe. And actually, if this was player of the year, he would have won this week, but he's still got another week of voting. But 12,858. So Kobe Bile was really safe throughout this whole process out. Any just reactions to Kobe?
Yeah. I mean that was one of the most surprising ones I think going through this, and that's nothing to take away from Kobe. Kobe's great, and we saw him. There's a reason why he qualified for Player of the Week, won it, qualified for this. But it was a one-game performance, and so to see the support, the fan support for him coming out of this is really impressive, and we'll see how this goes when we get into the Player of the Year. The final voting for next week, but he wasn't he's kind of the poster child. If he wasn't one of those like big names, but he's in the running just as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and move on to number 2, and that is DJ Garrett from Pine High School. He finished with a very close margin between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
He finished with 11,391 votes, which is still a very impressive showing here. He was a Gridiron football All-American player, two-way player, had probably the most impressive two-way season maybe in the entire state. Arguably in the entire state. Kyle Johnson was really good. There are other really good players. But he had one of the most impressive two-way seasons and very, very deserving to have come through and had a season like this. And he's getting the fan support that he deserves. Absolutely. And just any reactions before we move on to number 3, Jace, I'll give it over to you.
Yeah, I mean DJ's a great guy.
Absolutely.
On offense, over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, most interceptions in school history on defense with 11. Had the big pass play in the bowl game, 50 catch as well. So he's deserving, man, and he's done it like you said. If you have to be on the radar for something like this, you have to been a consistent player of the week, finalist or winner, or you have played in the bowl game. He's done 2 out of the 3, really. Win the award and then play in the bowl game. So to me, he's definitely deserving, and he will get some votes carried over as well. He'll get 2,340. Behind him, the guy that's deserving of it as well. He's been Gridiron football player of the week, and he was probably the only other candidate that probably would have won over Pop Houston that week, and it's Dedrick Lassie. So Dedrick Lassie finished 3rd in the Player of the Year poll and will advance to the final week of voting. Obviously, we went over the numbers. You go back to the last show, but overall, respectable 3rd place. 9,752 votes overall for him. He had about over 8,000. It was a balanced performance. He had about 8,000 votes in just voting, and he had some donations as well, about 1,562. So a pretty balanced performance there. Dedrick, he had 9 touchdowns in one game, but he's had a really great season, 27 touchdowns. He's deserving of it. It's been a year where it's been a lot of really good running backs. You look at it just across the board. But twice, I mean, he went up against the best of the best in the state, and at Harlem Berry, and both times he won. So
Yep.
it's what kind of player he is. But 24 touchdowns this year, 1,800 yards. Alex, thoughts on a really deserving Dedrick Lassie to move on?
I know Lassie didn't finish in first this week, but he was at 8,000 votes like 3 days ago.
Yeah, yeah,
And in my opinion, he's one of the bigger favorites to win the award next week, because when there was only one spot in the Player of the Week, when he was the only time he was nominated for Player of the Week, the fans came out in droves and broke the record for this season at the season high total of like 40,000 votes, which is ridiculous. This week, when there was any question of him not being in, they made very clear he was in, generated a huge lead, and then just kind of chilled. So
yeah,
I think we'll see. I think he's one of the ones, obviously in third, and there's a pretty big gap between third and fourth. He'll
yeah,
be one of the favorites anyway, but I think we very well might be talking about him getting that gold patch. Everyone, all 12 of them, have a chance to do it. But if I was a betting man, he might be the one I would lean towards if I had to guess. But we'll have to see. But like I said, this is open to anybody.
yeah,
And at number 4, we have one of the most impressive resumes for
yeah.
this entire list, Leesville's Xavier Ford. He's the rushing leader for the season for the state of Louisiana. Out of Dedrick Lassie, and Harlem Berry, and J.D. Lindsay, and all those names, he's the rushing leader. And the fans came out in droves with 4,241 total votes for Xavier. That's a good combination of both the votes as well as the actually had a lot of donations as well. He'll be, I believe, we are good to announce this, correct, Jace?
Yes, yes, you can announce
Okay.
it. Yep,
He will be the leader going into next week just based off of donations.
yep,
He had 4,000 votes off of donations actually.
yep,
So we'll see how things go going into next week, but he will have a lead going into it because of that.
yep. That's why we encourage it to donate. I mean, obviously, Gridiron Football is a 501c non-C3.
Yeah.
So to donate to Gridiron Football so we can get ready for the 2025 year as well. It helps with funds for the upcoming year too. That's why we encourage it, and that's why he's going to get the lead because and really the reason he made the list was because of donations. I mean, you look at it, he had 225 votes. But over 4,000 of those votes went towards donations. So that's why he's going to be winning. And really, that's a good guy to lead the pack because this is the guy that led the state in rushing, had over 50 touchdowns on the ground, close to 3,500 yards on the ground. So to me, he's won a lot of Player of the Year awards already. So might as well have one of the favorites leaning it off next week. That makes perfect sense for me. And we're going to go to a guy that has a chance maybe to win this twice because he's still a junior. So he's still got another year after this. And coming in at fifth place, at least for this week, saving his spot is Jerry Botley, a quarterback from Southern Lab. A great season this year. Came in as a first-year starter, replacing Marlon Brown and won a state championship and had a great season. I think he had over 30 touchdowns and close to 3,000 yards. And, he has a chance to expand on that next year. But he comes in with 2,937 votes, so a little short of 3,000 votes overall. But it was pretty balanced. I mean, he had a pretty good support as for his voting. He was pretty close to 1,000 there, 888 votes, and then he had over 2,000 votes, 2,049, which will carry over to next week. So Jerry Botley, we only have, I believe, off the top of my head, maybe I think we have 4 finalists. That we'll go over that that are underclassmen have a chance to win this next year too, and Jerry Botley's the first one.
No, Kobe.
Oh, Kobe. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Kobe's a sophomore.
Yeah, Kobe. So that's actually 5. So yeah, Kobe's a sophomore as well. So yeah, Jerry's a junior. So some of these guys might win it another time. And then and also last year's Player of the Year winner was really a freshman. So it just comes to show you that anybody can win this award.
Yeah, so this is I think you put it really well. You have a junior here, really storied program in Southern Lab with Jerry Botley, and just like a lot of these guys, is going to be someone that has a really good chance to win this award, and he's a guy that can definitely come back and be here again next season. So we're going to move on to a different kind of program, a program that had just like this fairy tale year in Monkey. And at number 6, we have Kane Milligan with 2,730 votes. He might not have been the biggest name on Monkey's team this season, but he had the amazing game during the playoffs. I believe it was the Amy game.
Yeah.
And then parlayed that into winning that week, and now he's gotten a lot of the support here. This was mostly a donation vote for him. He ended up with 2,600 votes via donations, so he'll have a pretty nice cushion going into next week as well, which will make him one of those guys threatening to potentially win it as well. So we'll see how that goes going into next week.
Yeah, you're right. Kane Milligan, like I said, another underclassman has a chance to win it
Yep.
this year and next year. And we have another one. I think it's 3 straight underclassmen we have. Next one is actually one of our early winners for Player of the Week for last week. So we have Zayden Foster coming in. I believe that is number 7. So he comes in as a number 7 player of the year finalist. 2,419 votes, and actually all of those votes were voting. So just voting from the Liberty fan base got him to the top 12, and then got him in this position. Zayden was over he's a 1,000-yard rusher. Has a chance to really put himself as maybe that type of guy, one of the leading rushers next year for Liberty. And then he had that great game against White Castle that got him on this list as a player of the week early in the season. Had close to, I think, double-digit touchdowns, 1,000 yards this year. Pretty good runner in the Baton Rouge area. And Liberty fan, we know we have a pretty good fan base at Liberty. Obviously, the marching band at Liberty was a marching band for Gridiron Football's bowl game the last 2 years. And Annie sent a generous donation to the Liberty band. You can find more about that gridironfootballusa.com. But the Patriots running back Zane Foster has a chance at this, and really the fan support, he's going to be in the running for it for next week.
Yeah, with the fan support, we'll see how that how they go going into next week. He's a really good player, and he's the numbers don't sound super crazy, but that's a Liberty team that gives the ball to a lot of different running backs, and so they have the split carries, and he was the guy that still had 1,000 yards and a really like solid rushing attack. And so it was an impressive season for him. But I'm the one. Always seems like I'm the one that's lucky enough to get to talk about this guy.
I mean, you stick with him. I don't know how. It's just the way of the cards or something. But.
Yeah, I got to talk about him now. I got to talk about him in the show last week. I got to go to his game. Jonathan D'Artes, of course, at number 8. If you're arguing resumes for who should be Player of the Year, there is no better argument than John D'Artes. He has 2,337 votes, a decent balance of voting and donations. He had 1,900 donations, so a lot of it was from the donations. But you could read out a stat line, and it feels like you're coming from a video game. He had like 60 touchdowns this season, broke the total touchdowns record. One of the greatest, just in terms statistically, one of the greatest careers in the history of the state of Louisiana. And so it's hard to argue against that. So we'll see how this goes, but he's always someone that's going to be in the running for something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think your list will be complete for final running. We have a resume like Jonathan D'Artes. I'm glad that the Vermilion Catholic community came back and really supported him this week, get him in the running, the final running for the Player of the Year, and he has to be deserving of it. I mean, it's great to have Xavier Ford and Jonathan D'Artes, who are the biggest resume guys on this list, and he definitely deserving of it. I mean, the galling numbers, the state championship. I don't know how you can have a more perfect single season than he did. So we're going to go into one of our guys at our number 9 spot, and this is Mr. Do Everything, right? Do it all, Ellis Stewart. And there's a lot of great representatives. His teammate Diesel Solari was one of the 40 finalists, and Ellis Stewart, to me, he's a gridiron football type of guy. Does whatever the team needs him to do. Plays multiple positions, whether it's throwing, running, catching, punting, you name it. He does a little bit of everything. A reason he's on this because he was our Gridiron Football American Bowl Game MVP So he played in the bowl game. That's how he got on this list, and that's another way to get you on this list. He comes in with 2,262 votes, and over close to 1,900 of those votes came through donations. So we appreciate the Cecilia community for stepping up and donating for Ellis Stewart, and he's going to carry those votes to next week. But Ellis Stewart, perfect representative, played Gridiron football, player of the year finals. We saw him at the beginning of the year for a media day, and we saw him at the end of the year winning MVP. So I mean, Ellis Stewart, to me, I'm glad that he's getting the recognition that he definitely deserves.
Yeah, he finished the season with a backflip over at the Gridiron football game, the All American game, and yeah, this is another one of those players that it's he's a clutch player. He's a player that comes up in big moments, and so another one of those stat lines that he had a really good year, 1,500 all-purpose yards, but he just does everything kind of,
Yeah.
and he's really good at everything, really, really, really good at everything, and so this would be a guy that feels very representative of us. You said it very well. He's a Gridiron football guy, so very well deserving. Of course, everyone was not just that made the list but didn't. So everyone is deserving, but he is super deserving, and to see him in the running here for Player of the Year is really awesome. So moving on to number 10, another guy that feels very Gridiron football-y, for lack of a better word, is Caleb Joseph with 1,676 votes. This was another donation guy. He had like 1,500 votes in terms of donations. But he is, of course, the running back from Bel Air. He was at our bowl game, and he's a really good player. Bel Air didn't have a very good season this year. But he still had a great year. He compiled a great season, and it would be, again, this is another one that would feel kind of fitting if he ended up winning, because he doesn't get the kind of recognition he deserved because the team success wasn't really there this year.
Right.
But he was awesome, and so very, very well deserving for Caleb. Great to see him on this list.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like we said, another Gridiron football type of guy, and Andy would say a dime in the rough. He really is a dime in the rough, and is a perfect guy. The kind of guys with chips on their shoulders, right? Underdog mentality, and he had a great season. If, like I said, he played for a bigger school, maybe he would get a lot more attention. I mean, anytime you account for 1,900 yards and over 20 touchdowns for any school, I mean, like you get a lot of attention. So I'm glad Caleb Joseph is getting that attention as well. Another bowl game guy. Here, this is where it gets interesting. So, in what would have been our top 10, Caleb Joseph would have been our final guy. But since their last two nominees both have 1,000 votes, and there's a pretty big gap between 12 and 13, we decided to add two more nominees. So this was like a last minute, the surge in the moment type of thing, right? That we added two more guys. But that's what Gridiron football is really a lot of times. So we feel like he's deserving of it too. And our number 11 guy is Dylan Compton from Bunkie High School. Gridiron football All-American bowl game quarterback, threw a touchdown to Ellis Stewart. Everybody talks about the backflip and everything, and Ellis Stewart made, but he was the one who threw that pass. So we got to get him some credit as well. And two guys from Bunkie High School being in the final as well. So the only school that has more than one final candidate for Gridiron Football Player of the Year, and I think it's a great school because Bunkie's really backed us up and has really been a really great supporter of Gridiron football. The last 2 years Bunkie has had as well has been really great. But overall numbers, Dylan Compton had 1,140 votes. So he had over 1,000 votes, 400 of them, over 420 came through donations, 720 came through actual voting. So pretty balanced between the two. But Dylan Compton, the Class 3A Offensive Player of the Year, over 40 touchdowns, 2,000 yards, had to add him as well. So he definitely, even though he was outside the cut, we were able to get him inside the cut.
Absolutely, and it's fun to see. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the first time we've had two players from the same team make the final cut. I don't know if that was the case last year. I don't think there was a double up.
I think we had some players. Now we did differently. I think we just did 1 week, so this is the first time.
Oh, so that's a little bit okay. Well, that was a little bit different. Well, the first time we've had a final cut of this few players, and we've had two players from the same team. But very well deserving, of course. We got to see Dylan in person at the bowl game, up close and personal. He is awesome. So we'll get to see where his career leads, but we might get one last accolade for him.
Yeah.
Finally, at number 12, drum roll, the final player
sneaks in
for the final cut for Gridiron Football Player of the Year, Jacob Crane from Franklinton High School, with 1,054 votes. He completed this with a really nice balance of both voting and donations. He had 650 votes from donations. He had about 400 votes from just straight up voting. And that got him over that 1,000 vote threshold, which it made a pretty big difference. There was a pretty big gap between him and the next person. And then it kind of scrunches up from there. And so we decided to go ahead and make that cutoff here. But Jacob Crane, I got a chance to interview him for Player of the Week. It was one interview I got to do after the semifinal game. And he's down to earth kid. He's a junior, so he's going to get to come back next year. He was a large part of the reason. Cy also didn't make the cut here, but he and Cy were the big reasons why Franklin had that crazy 1-year turnaround with Coach Salt Formaggio. And very, very well deserving of him being on this list, of him having a chance to be our Player of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really deserving for all these guys. There were some big names that did not make the final cut. Obviously, you can kind of do process elimination and which names we haven't called and the names of the 40 names that we ended up having. You can say there were some big names that were left off. I mean, Ben Taylor, Chad Elzy,
Elijah Haven,
Pop Houston,
Harlem, JT Lindsay.
I mean, all these guys are deserving. That's why we can't really pick a winner. We agreed that these are guys that definitely deserve to be a Player of the Year. But when you recover so much football as we are, it's like comparing apples and oranges a lot of times. You're going to go with the quarterback or the running back. You know what? Let's let the fans decide. Let's let the fan bases decide, and that's what we decided to do. And we had so many candidates, so much great football this year that we had to narrow this down to 2 weeks of voting. So congratulations, like you said we said at the very beginning, like American Idol, like some of these other TV shows, like all this stuff, right? Survivor, like all these, like you've made it to the next round, you survived, you move on to the next round.
They made the jury.
Yeah, right. For these 12, they will move on to the next round, and we'll do this one more time, Alex, and just make sure everybody is on the same page. Now, we had 40 players, and you're probably wondering, okay, why didn't Kobe win? Well, Kobe got him to next week, so based on overall number of votes. But since there's so many people, it's a 2-step process. So you went through the first step. Now you gotta go through the second step. So just make sure everybody knows before we sign off here, Alex. This next week is for all the marbles. So whoever wins this week for Player of the Week for the voting is going to win it all. So they're going to be the Gridiron Football Player of the Year, like last year when we went to Westwood High School for a camp and gave it to Kavian Bryant for Player of the Year. You're going to get a lot if you win Player of the Year, guys. So for these 12 nominees, you're going to get a pretty cool Letterman jacket patch that's going to say Gridiron Football Player of the Year. It's going to be a gold Letterman jacket patch. And then we'll also do an interview with them. We'll spotlight them. They'll actually be pinned on top of our social media, especially on Instagram, for the whole year for being Player of the Year too. So it's a pretty good recognition. We'll also probably add in a certificate too for being Gridiron Football Player of the Year. And everybody's worrying about all the Gridiron Football Player of the Weeks. Well, they're going to get their Letterman jacket patches too. We're working on an awards banquet, and whenever we get that finalized, we will make sure to invite everybody as one Player of the Week so they can get their Letterman jacket patch. Alex, any final thoughts or just anything in general, just about the 12 that won, just maybe the overall, the 40 that were selected to be from the beginning of it?
Yeah, congratulations to all 12 players. It leaves 28 on the cutting room floor, I guess, for lack of a better term. That is no Like, you guys were all awesome. I know it's probably unfortunate to hear that you didn't quite make the cut if you were really hoping to, but everyone deserved it. All 40 of you did, but we had to narrow it down to 12 before getting to our final vote, and this will be a fun week to see how this shakes out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So one more time, just make sure everybody knows. So the voting itself, all the votes accumulated for each of the 12 won't carry over to this week. It's just the donation votes that will carry over to next week. So if you had 2,000 donation votes, but 5,000 overall votes, you will have 2,000 votes for next week. So that's how that works. And as we sign off, start your engines, go ahead and go, because that's the first time right there. So go and vote starting right now as we're having the show up. The poll is already up on our website as you're watching this. So get a head start your competition if you haven't already done that. Make sure to vote is actually at the link below too. So go ahead and vote for the 12 finalists. So once again, congratulations to Kobe, Vital, DJ Garrett, Dedrick Lasty, Xavier Ford, Jerry Botley, Kane Milligan, Zayden Foster, Jonathan Dartez, Ellis Stewart, Caleb Joseph, Dylan Compton, Jacob Crane. One of these 12 will be the Gridiron Football Player of the Year for 2024. And we'll have one more show after this, Alex, to wrap up the season next week. So the poll, same situation. So it will close a whole week next Friday at noon, and the winner will be announced at 5 o'clock. So you'll have till Friday. It'll be January 24th at 5 o'clock. We will announce who the Gridiron Football Player of the Year is. So for Alex Allison, I'm Jace Lejeune. Good luck, and may the what was Hunger Games, Alex? May the odds ever in your favor, right?
Yes, yes.
So until then, we'll see y'all next week, and good luck. We'll find out who is the Gridiron Football Player of the Year.